Somewhere the people are babbling that in this house lives a devil which appears as a black pig. A haunted house, as we were told. But we are not afraid of devils, and in the neighboring village Budiabasti there are many black pigs which resemble boars. Did not our dear monkeys who came into the bathroom and ate the peas and flowers around the house play the part of the devil? There is the tiresome need of having many servants, and the reason always the same caste. It reaches absurdity. The porter does not clean the path. Why? It appears that according to caste, he is a blacksmith and has no right to take a broom into his hand. Otherwise he will become defiled and become a sweeper. He decides the problem in a very original fashion. He begins to brush around the garden with 5 fingers. Creep, ing along the ground. The groom is from the high Kshatriya caste and hints at his descent from a king, which did not hinder him from mysterious operations with the horse feed. Sometimes, in the kitchen religious meetings are arranged, and the cook, chairman of the local area, a Samaj, persistently persuades his listeners to something. Buddhists are not limited by caste and are free to perform all kinds of work. They work fast, are merry, are quick to understand and easy to adapt themselves. There are many tales about Tibetans, the warrior-like tribe of Kam, and about the wild Galiks who call themselves wild dogs. They bring one back again even to the times of Sieg. Fried. They cement their brotherly oaths by mixing and drinking brotherly blood. They never part with their weapons. His country begins to unfold as the series Banners of the East is begun. In June, after the first rains, all the tempera begins to be covered with white spots of mold. One has to heat up the place considerably in order that the mold should dry and come off. His country, in Sikkim itself, was one of the ashrams of the Mahatmas. To Sikkim, Mahatmas came on mountain horses. Their physical presence communicates a solemn importance to these parts. Of course now the ashram has been transferred from Sikkim. Of course now the Mahatmas have left Sikkim, but they were here, and therefore the silver peaks of the chain glimmer still more beautifully. Accompanied by pupils, artists, and a sculptor, comes the majestic Rinpoche from Chumbai. He walks throughout the whole country erecting new images of Maitreya. All is being hastened. In a long talk, the Lama points out that all may be attained only through Shambhala. For those who imagine Shambhala as a legendary invention, this indication is a superstitious myth. But there are also others fortified by more practical knowledge. The noble Adisha, the pillar of the teaching, walked from India to Tibet for the purification of the teaching. The teacher passed by the retreat of Milarepa. The great hermit became conscious of the passing procession and, wishing to test the forces of the pillar of the teaching, appeared sitting on the end of a blade of grass. The noble Adisha, seeing this manifestation of the hermit, came dov/n from the portchaise and also rose upon the end of the next blade of grass. And when the teachers exchanged brotherly greetings, Milarepa said, "Our knowledge is equal, but why is the blade of grass under me slightly bent, while under thee it has retained its tension?" The noble Adisha smiled. "Verily, equal is our knowledge, but I come from the country where the blessed Tathagata himself lived and taught, and this consciousness raises me. What magnets are laid in India! Indescribable is the charm of the children's round dance near Madras, with its tiny gopis and miniature Krishna, Lay and Kapava. The best images are strewn in the unrealized wealth. India knows the all-penetrating power of the magnet. And how about miracles in India? Friends of the West will ask. We will say that we have not seen miracles, but we have encountered every manifestation of psychic energy. If one wants to speak about the manifestations of a higher miraculous power, then it is useless to talk altogether, but to comprehend the materially attained development of psychophysical energy, then India gives even now the most remarkable manifestations. The celebrated evil eye of the East exists, and the people die submissively at the ordained date, if they are not able to act it by a still more greatly trained will. The transmission of the command of will from a distance does exist. Suggestion in any form exists in highly complicated correlations. Some manifestations are being performed consciously and a greater part subconsciously through natural ability and beneficial atmospheric conditions. And that which is unusual for a civilized European, that very thing for the cultured Hindu or rather Asiatic will be an almost daily material occurrence. Observe how remarkable are the physiological comparisons traced by the Hindus between cosmic manifestations and the human organism. The womb, the navel, the phallus, and the heart, all these long since have been included in the fine system of development of the universal cell. Only it is difficult to entice the people into a discussion of this. Again is necessary that confidence which cannot be established at the dining table. During the period of Inquisition people were burned for invoking the teraphim, but in India even now this means of influence is practiced, and now in the Malabar hills dark sons may come and because of an unfulfilled request will try to touch you while they say to you, Sahib will be sick or you will live only 10 days. If the organism at that moment is fatigued or if the will is weak, the command is fulfilled and one can remedy this only by a countersuggestion. But often the counteraction is less powerful or not applied in time. The cases related about the evil eye provide a remarkable and as yet untouched problem for the psychiatrists and criminologists. The person who has received this stroke of the will on the appointed day begins to lose his life energy and his power of resistance, and finally the apparatus stops. The doctors who do not apply suggestion in time are at loss for a cure and begin to poison the paralyzed nervous system still more. Incipient anemia, a stroke of the heart or spleen, or gallbladder, nervous spasms and choking are often the visible effects of the command of the invading will. It is difficult to ascertain just how the nature of the attack on the particular organs occurs. One may rather imagine that the most feeble organ succumbs to a nervous attack. In a small and more crude manner, the same practice is apparent in shamanism, but the gradations of the will and its applications are entirely incomparable. It is justly pointed out that such murder or harm by willpower is far more dangerous than a physical one. And where can one seek the limits of such suggestions? In the East one sometimes hears a significant sentence, "He shall not live." It means one has sensed the spark of the will stroke. Two qualities must be conceded to the English: steadfastness and precision. For the East, both qualities are remarkable. Precision, according to the ordained dates, of course, is absolutely necessary because the worst theft is the theft of someone else's time. Do not be late if you wish to be respected. It all began with the unknown traces found by the Everest expedition. Then in the Statesman, an English major related how during one of the expeditions into the region of the Himalayas, he encountered a strange mountain inhabitant. At sunrise, amidst the frosty snows, the major walked away from the camp and climbed the neighboring rocks. Glancing at the nearby rocks, the major, to his astonishment, beheld a tall man, almost naked, standing leaning on a high bough. The mountain inhabitant did not look at the major, his attention being completely attracted by something unseen behind the curve of the slope, and suddenly the man bent, strained himself, and by madly dangerous leaps rushed from the rocks and disappeared. When the major told his people about the meeting, they smiled and said, "Sahib has seen a snowman. They are watching the guarded places."